Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel, and specifically welcome back to this video. In this video we're going to look at 35 basic computer questions, okay, and their answers that at least when you are in the field of ICT or in the field that regarding computer, you cannot go away without them. Alright, so let's dive in and see our first question. Our first question goes, what does the CPU stand for? Okay, we see the CPU stands for Central Processing Unit, and this is where the actual processing takes place. Okay, right? You can see the pictures. It shows how a CPU looks like. Then another one is, what is the main function of RAM? Okay, then here we see RAM is a temporary storage of data for active processes, and that's the picture. Okay, then what does ROM stand for? Okay, where we see that this is the read-only memory on the motherboard that is long term, where specific instructions that are needed for the computer to operate are stored. Okay, this memory is non-volatile, and your ROM and is on your computer. Your computer can only read from it. Okay, this memory stores the information that helps to run the computer. Okay, then we have another question that goes, what is an operating system? Okay, we see this is the software that manages computer hardware and the software resources. Okay, it tells the computer how to use its own components, and all computers require operating systems. Okay, in other words, it tells the computer how to interact with the user. Okay, it is the mediator between the user and the computer device. Alright, it's an example of an operating system. Then examples, name one example. That's question 5 of an operating system, and we see examples include Windows, then Macintosh operating system, Linux, Chrome OS, and many more. Right, the Linux, the Apple, if you are dealing with Android gadgets, okay, the phones, then you are going to have maybe Android. Alright, then we have now, what is the software? Okay, here we see this is question 6, and these are instructions that tells the machine, okay, physical components, what to do and how to do it. Okay, this is a set of instruction, and it tells the machine, okay, or it tells the computer components what to do and how to do it. Okay, sometimes they call it set of instructions, often called the program. Okay, and when the computer is using a particular program, we normally say it is running or executing a program. There are two main types of programs. One is system software, and another one is the application software. Examples of system software can have operating systems, and maybe for an application software you can have Microsoft Word, right? Okay, then what is hardware? Alright, you can see hardware are physical components that make up a computer. Right, for example, you can see all these physical components here. When you add up them, we come out what we call computer: the speakers, the modem, the RAM, the CPU, the keyboard, the mouse, the CD drive, diskette drive, hard drive, printer, ports, okay, monitors, and expansion boards. Okay, you can have a few of them, then you come up with what we call a computer, but all those are hardwares. Okay, then you have another question that goes, what does URL stand for? Okay, URL, we say this is Uniform Resource Locator. Okay, this is what identifies a certain web pages. Okay, also, we use it when you type it in a web browser to identify a page or to locate for that web page, and it returns it. Okay, what is a web browser? Okay, examples are of web browser are Chrome and Firefox, and we are seeing that the web browser is an application program or software that requests documents from the computers connected to the internet, okay, bracket servers around the world, and then it will display that information in the browser window. Okay, so the browser displays the information according to HTML instructions. HTML, this is hypertext markup language. Okay, that is it, hypertext markup language instructions. Then we are going to say what is a virus. Okay, what is a virus? As somebody who's working in IT field or computer field, you must know what a virus is. Okay, say this is a malicious software that harm your system or can even steal your data. Okay, so that's what we call a virus. Then here is another question: is a printer an input or output device? The answer is an output device. Okay, so it gives you information from the computer in a printed form or hard copy, right? Is the mouse an input or an output device? Of course, the mouse is an input device. Alright, that's how it looks like. Then, what is a scanner used for? Okay, what is a scanner used for? Of course, a scanner is used to convert physical document into digital form. Okay, then what does HDMI stand for? Okay, HDMI, you have ever heard of HDMI ports? Okay, so this is high definition multimedia interface. Okay, then what does USB stand for? This is universal serial bus. Universal serial bus. Then what is the function of a modem? Okay, of course, modem connects a computer to the internet. Then what is the main function of a hard drive? Okay, this is to store data permanently. Then what is a motherboard? Okay, what is a motherboard? This is the main circuit board that connects all computer components. Okay, main circuit board that connects all computer components. Okay, you can see that is it. Okay, then we have what device is used to store data permanently. Okay, and our answer goes that is hard disk drive, HDD, or solid state drive. Okay, and many other storage devices, maybe like flash drive, memory cards. Okay, and that is an example of hard disk drive. What is a touch screen? Of course, this is a display that acts as an input device. Any display, okay, that acts as an input device. So long as you have that screen where you can, maybe, because a good example is a smartphone. Its internet, it's a touch screen. Its interface, the touch screen. Okay. Then you have what is Microsoft Word used for? Okay. Of course, this is used for word processing in terms of doing the reports, and maybe letters and so on. Okay. Then what is Excel used for? Okay. Excel, of course, is working with spreadsheets and maybe also data analysis. Okay. What does Wi-Fi stand for? Okay. This is wireless fidelity. Wireless fidelity. Then what is a firewall? Okay. What is a firewall? What is a firewall? This is a security system that controls the incoming and outgoing network traffic. Okay, on a network. A security system that will control the incoming and outgoing network traffic. In other words, it allows, okay, the authorized users only to use a network. Okay, and also cuts down those ones that are unauthorized. Okay, what is cloud computing? Okay, cloud computing, this is using of internet-based servers to store and access data. As long as you are using internet-based servers to store and access data, that's what we call cloud computing. Okay, what does IP stand for? We see this is internet protocol. Okay, internet protocol. What is phishing? Okay, phishing. This is terms also we call it as a scam to trick users to give their personal information online. For example, somebody can send you an email, okay, tending to be as if it is from a legit company, maybe a bank, okay, hoping that maybe they have temporary management, okay, maybe temporary update, that you could share them your credentials so they can maybe also update your account. Okay, you end up getting scammed in that way, right? So that is phishing. What is a URL bar? Okay, of course this is why you type a website address in your web browser. Of course, for example, even using that web browser where you are going to type and you type a computer, a thing here, right? Or you are typing here computer games, then this bar is what we call URL bar. Okay, then what is copy and paste? Copy paste shortcut on Windows. Of course, for copy, to copy anything, that is Control, you select it, then you hit Control plus C, that is copy. To paste it, you go where you want to paste it and hit Control plus V, right? Then what is the shortcut to undo an action? If you want to undo an action, then that is Control Z, okay? And if you want to redo the action, that is Control Y, right? What does HTML stand for? We looked at it earlier alone, that this was hypertext backup language. Then what is a computer network? Okay, computer network, saying this is a group of computers connected to share resources and data. For example, you can have these computers connected together on a switch, okay, to access this server, okay, to access this server this side. You can also maybe also have a computer to access maybe some printer, right? So that's a group of computers. For example, computer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all accessing one server, okay? So that's a group of computers connected together with an intention of sharing and sharing resources and accessing data. Okay, what does PDF stand for? Okay, PDF stands for portable document format. Okay, and here you have to know that it is less heavy than Microsoft Word document. Okay, that's why people prefer saving their documents in PDF format. What is an antivirus? Okay, an antivirus, this is software that detects and removes the malware from the computer, right? And examples are there. Examples, you can see them in the picture, the Kaspersky, okay, then the Avast, and so on. What is multitasking in computers? Okay, you can see this is running multiple programs at the same time. For example, here I'm playing a presentation, and at the same time the presentation is being run by application program called PowerPoint. Then you're putting on a recording, okay, using a microphone, and at the same time, okay, you are using a screen recorder. You get it? So it is doing a lot of tasks at the same time, right? The best example here, you can see it. You are writing in a word processor and you are listening to an audio or music, okay? You are using your computer at the same time you are controlling the screen brightness there, okay? Background processes are always running side by side with user programs, okay? Operating system services will always run, okay, doing what a user wants, okay? So In other words, here you play games while you download